class, it worked, but there was no sound. This one maybe have sound. It's not in the virtual machine. So I'm going to go get Visual Studio. And what I'm going to do is, as I said, make a kind of a simple class, and then we'll just do a unit test for it. So we'll make it a new project. No questions or anything before we get going? I don't want to, this time I just want to go up to C# and a console application. I don't know what I want to call it, maybe GPA calculator. As I said, I want to do something simple. So it's just, yeah, GPA calculator. I'm just going to create a class, a couple of classes, one called grade and one that does the actual calculations. And then we'll do a unit test. That's the point of all this. We're doing a really simple couple of classes, and then we'll do the tests. Are you guys with me so far? Okay. So I'm going to right click on, why did I named it? It's interesting to name my solution, but not my console. It's console application too. Oh, I don't know why you did that. It's not a big deal. I'm going to add a class. So I just I right-clicked on the solution, and I did add class. I'm going to call this one grade, and it's just going to contain the grade information. And I'm going to make it really pretty simple. I'm going to do public class name, and it should be a string. That's what I'm forgetting. And I'm going to use the shorthand get set, and then I'm going to do public int credits get and set. And public double, I call it grade here, get and set. So that's our grade object. Any questions on it? I mean, you could do other stuff, but I'm not going to. It's just a container. It's just some classes are basically there just to bundle information. All right, and then, are you guys with me? You need a minute? Okay, so it's just those three fields. Actually, grade, let me capitalize grade. It doesn't matter, but it's better form. Okay, so then I'm going to add one more, and this is the one that'll do the calculations. So I'm going to right-click, add class, and this one I'll call GPA, and it'll do the actual GPA calculations. I'm going to give it a list. Do I want to make it a public field? I guess. Public list grade, and we'll just call it grades. Actually, since I'm doing that, let's do, should we do it as a get set, so it'll return a list of grade objects. I'm going to do a couple of other methods. I don't know. This is, I'm not 100% sure that it initializes the list of grades. That could be interesting. All right, so I want to do a public void add grade, and it will take a grade object. And it basically will just do, see what happens, grades dot add G. So then the other thing I'm going to do is I'll just do a public double calculate GPA. All right. So I'm going to do for each grade G in grades. Basically what we need is up here. I'm going to do int total credits. I'm going to do double total, wait. You guys know how to take a GPA? The weighted average. So for each grade in that, I'm going to say total credits plus equal G dot credits and total weight plus equal G dot credits times G dot grade. And your GPA, so I'm going to just do return, is total weight divided by total credits. Okay. Does that make sense? Basically, they want you to make sure that a 1 credit class doesn't count as much as a 5 credit class. I'm going to do one other just to have 2 things to test and just so you can sort of see the different. I'm going to do public double, I'm going to call it straight average. And I suppose I should capitalize that. And I still have my Java tendencies. Java, you start your methods with lower cases. And then this one, I'm just going to do a for each. I'm actually curious before I do that. Grades dot, that doesn't have average. Arrays do. Lists don't. So for each grade G in grades and do total. So I'll do double total grades, lowercase. So it's basically just return total grades divided by grades dot. Now this is a list, so it doesn't have length, but it has count. And I think it's a method. There we go. So we have two methods there. And we have so we have something to test. Does that make sense? As I said, I wanted to keep this simple. So, do you need a minute to type? Okay. The whole point isn't this class. The point is going to be the adding the test things. This would be, what kind of relationship would grades have to this? Is there something that I could lift up or do? What do you need, Hillary? Okay.
So you're asking about the relationship?
Yeah, the relationship between grade and
GPA.
GPA. Oh, you guys should know. Either
bell curve.
Well, my grades never look like a bell curve. I would say aggregation or composition. That's what I was looking for, right? Because it's a container class that contains the grades. My grades actually tend to be a reverse bell curve. So people either tend to get fours, so that's actually not even a curve. Tend to get fours, or the other end is zeros. There's a whole lot more fours than zeros. You only get a zero if you don't ever show up or do any work, basically, right? So that, typically people either get most everything in, or they don't get anything in. So to get a good bell curve, I'd have to do really nuanced tests and grade the test, but I'm not sure how useful those are in this kind of class. Are we ready for the test part? All right, so we could run this if we wanted. I mean, I'd go into program and run it, but you don't even have to run it to test it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on console. Stand in your way a lot. Okay. The console application 2, because that's what it named it. I'm going to add, actually, no, I want to go up to the solution level. Add a new project. And the kind of project that we want, oh, I said existing. I want a new project. Add existing. I did it again. My brain is fried. And it's only Tuesday. New project.
You're not on the simulation.
No, I'm on the thing. All right. New. Where's new? Add. New project. Yes. Now, down, let me close all these. If you look under, I think it's under Visual C#, and then you go down to like test and WCF. Test is what you want. So there's like a MySQL, C#, MySQL, SharePoint, Cloud, Light Switch reporting, Silverlight, and then test. And test is what we want, and we want a unit test project. Notice they've got performance and loads, and they've got a UI, testing thing too. I'm going to do OK. Do I want to name it anything? I'm just going to leave it unit test project. It will add another project to your solution. Okay. You can have as many projects in a single solution as you want. it's typically they're related. It wouldn't make sense to have lots of unrelated ones in a solution. Now, there's another thing I need to do here. I need to add a reference. So I'm on the unit test project. Right click, add, and we need to add a reference. And the reference we need to add it to is to projects, if that's not there. And we want to, mine says console application 2. Yours might have named properly. So I'm going to click on that. So what I did is on the unit test project, right click, add reference. Now I'm not sure what it's on. Was it on solution or com, or was it on solution? Okay, so we want to make sure you check that box. You can say okay, and if the box isn't checked, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't tell you you didn't check anything. But
what does this do?
So what we're doing is we're adding a reference to this project from this one so that the unit test can see this. So I am going to add a using statement up here, and I'm going to using mine is again console application 2. This is just so you don't have to type console application 2 dot over and over again, or whatever you named yours, right? Your name's probably worked. All right, so in this test method, and we could name this test method something else. So let's say test GPA. I'm also going to, so right at the top of this, do I need to make, let's just do it down here. I'm going to do another private void. I think it'll be void. I'm going to say add some classes. We need something to test, right? There needs to be something in there to test a GPA on.
You need the test method.
You do need this. I don't need it down here. This is not, this one down here actually isn't a test method. It is just a support method. Because basically what I need to do is I need to get some data into the class so that we have something to average, right, to do a GPA on. So what I'm going to do down here is I'm just going to say GPA. Do I need to do that whole thing? Shouldn't have to. Console application 2. Oh, you know what? I know why it's not showing up. Anybody else know? If you don't make your classes public, it won't show down there. All right, so now when I go back to the unit test, I can do GPA. GPA equals new GPA. So I'm instantiating the class that I'm testing. I'm going to do grade G1 equals new grade. And I'm going to basically say G1 dot, I actually don't need to say what the class name is, but let's say credits equals 5, G1 dot grade equals, what do you want, 4? Actually, it's a 5 credit class. Let's say you didn't do so well in a 5 credit class. Let's do G1 or G. So what we want to do now is GPA add grade G1. Right, so that the GPA is our instance. I just need to add some grades. I'm going to add 3 grades. Did you do the public? So I had to go back and add the word public in front of the class and public in front of both of them. I always forget that until it doesn't show up on mine. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. I just copied it. I'm going to do 3 or 2 rather. Let's make this 3 credit. And I want to make sure I add G2. What do we want to make this one?
Maybe have the grade be something like after something after the
All right. Now, one of the things we need to do is figure out what that average is going to be. So up here in the where I'm actually in the test method, I'm going to call add some classes. You know what? I think I might need to declare this at a higher level so it's accessible. And that needs to be spelled right. Okay, so we've got the classes. Now what we want to do is GPA dot calculate GPA, and that's going to return a double. What do we want to call this? I've used GPA a little too often. I need another word for what this will be. Is grade too, but okay. And this part is a little bit assert are equal. And then I'm going to give it a value. And then I'm going to say that that is what the G is going to equal. So we did, I need to do, I suppose I could get out a calculator. We have a grade of 2 with 5 credits, so the weight would be 10, right? And we have a grade of 4 times 3 credits would equal 12. And we have a grade of 3.5 times 5. So 3.5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 5, so 0.5 still. I think 3 is 15, 17. So our weighted values are 0.59, I need to calculate 39. And our total credits are 13. So I'm going to bring up a calculator because I don't want to do that long division math with the 0.5 in there. Some of you could probably do it pretty fast. Well, we could, yeah. I don't want calendar. Calculator. Don't want calendar. Go back to see.
Equals 39.5 divided by 13.
What?
Like, check if it's equal to 39.5 divided by 13.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Well, oh yeah, actually that is a way we could do it. That would save me doing the math. It's always nice to let the computer do the math. So R equal. So it's 39.5 divided by 13, and then comma G. Thank you. That's a good suggestion. So if these two are equal, then the method is working, right? Correct? And if it's not, they're not equal, then there's something wrong. So we could test this by, let's run this. And what you want to go is you don't want to run it from here. You want to go to test, run, and you can run all tests or selected tests. There were errors. What are my errors? Oh, yeah. Let's just do this as, what do we want to name it? Score, grade point. So I need to change. I should have just refractored it. I should have just told it to change it everywhere. It would have done that. Is that all I need to do?
So everywhere it's a grade point.
Yeah, so. I knew that. I should have known that when I did
do
it.
it so
I used the IntelliSense to take me to where. And then I build to see if it will work. And then I just basically take the top error off the build. And I just keep doing that. If you double click an error, it'll go to where the error is. So I'll show you where I changed things. I had to change it here because, did you guys understand the error message? I named this grade. You can't name a field the same thing as the class name. And then in GPA, wherever we referred to the grade point, where it said grade before, I had to change that to grade point. Now, this thing is, if I had, like, I'm just going to change this to grade PT like that. There's a little smart tag down there, and it says rename G to grade point. If I do that, I think it'll change it everywhere. So now if I go to GPA, now it didn't. All right, never mind. Usually it changes it everywhere. Anyway, so in the grade class, I changed it to grade point. In the GPA, in the for each loops, I had to change it to grade point in each of the for each loop. So it said G grade, now it's G grade point. So two places here. This and this. Both of the for each loops. I encountered a really weird error with for each loops, by the way. Not that you probably care. They cause a threading error sometimes. I kept getting, you can't do this action because the thread isn't complete. And I looked it up on Google. And they said, well, the problem is that I had read lots of stuff, none of which made any sense to me. Then somebody said that the for each is the culprit. The for each is completing it's opening a thread and not closing it properly. So I changed it to a for loop, a straight for loop, and it worked fine. So it's an interesting thing. That would be, I think, a bug in their compiler, actually.
can you go down a little bit.
Sure. So I changed the grade points here, and then in the unit test, wherever we added the grade, we had to change it to grade point. So let me see if it will run the test now. So test, run all tests. Okay, and it failed. Why did it fail? Oh, I know why it failed. I wondered about that. Anybody know why it failed? Could be useful information.
Does it not actually have a
Following the
reference to the
GPA.
test? The test function?
No, it actually is good. We have the list grade up here. Remember I mentioned real quickly, I wonder if it actually instantiates that. Obviously it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
List grade has to be made new. So the question I have, let's do this in GPA. Let's do it in a constructor. Public GPA. If I do grades, so list, so is it grades? It's only got the cap. Equals new grade. So I was unsure whether that was instantiated or not when you did the shortcut, and it isn't. This is the constructor, so it'll be instantiated as soon as the class is called. All of which is giving this more complexity than I wanted. I want it to be a really simple test. These are useful things to find, I guess, though. So let's try running. Did you need me to go back to that?
2 unit tests just under the test class.
Right. You have 2 unit tests? Did you add
Oh,
more?
my GPA.
Oh, so this is which I'm not sure what you mean. Let me look.
Unit test 1. What
Right.
am I missing over here? GPA equals
Oh, GPA equals new
new
GPA.
GPA.
Yeah, you have to give it a name. So I gave it GPA. GPA equals new GPA.
Oh,
So let's try this test again. And then we'll do something to try the other method. So I want to run all tests. Notice this time it passed. And it also tells you, if it matters, how long it took to process, 3 milliseconds. And it puts a little green check mark over here too. Let's try creating another method just to do the straight average. So I'll just do it up here. Now, because we want this to be an actual test method, I need to actually do that test method. Those are like compiler directives, essentially. It's telling it that this method is serving as an actual test method, because you can have all sorts of other support methods in here to support the test methods. I'm going to, what do I want to do? Public void. Test straight average. And I'm going to add some classes again. Actually, would they still be there? It depends.
The same ones that we called test review.
They should still be there.
They're not inside.
Right, because we added it up above. I don't think I need to call that again. In fact, if I call it again, it may duplicate them.
So
We'll see. We'll see if it needs it. Basically, what we could do is double GPA, which lowercase double average equals GPA dot straight average. And then again, you do this assert. Now there's some things you can do once you do this assert. Notice you can assert a failed exception, you can assert conclusion, you can do different kinds of asserts there. It gets a little complicated. And even for assert, you can say that they're equal or not equal. I'm not sure what the difference is between the generic thing and that are not the same, are the same, equals, or it's inconclusive. So you can assert different things about the thing that you're testing. I'm going to assert are equal, and I'm going to say that the average, now the average would be 3 except for a 0.5. So all right, so what we had a 4 plus, what were our grades for? 2 and
9.5 divided by 3.
9.5 divided by 3. Okay. Clear. 9.5 divided by 3 equals, okay. So I don't want to do that, but we're going to do
Just write 9.5 divided by 3 in there.
yeah, you could do that too. I was going to actually just round it, but I guess we could do 9.5 divided by 3, comma, average. So if we test this time, and again, we can test all tests, or if I were to select, I wonder if I just select that 1. Selected test is available then. I'm going to run both of them
we
now.
could only run one, then would you need to call it?
You probably would, because it wouldn't have called the other. Here's the other thing too, is do they call them in the right order?
Mine says the name av, the AV average.
So it passed, this interesting, the GPA passed, the straight average failed. And notice that it called the straight average first. Yours both passed?
No, I'm not actually getting, oh, there, it just took for, yeah.
So the test average, so one of the things that might actually be better, I don't know, control. I don't know if this is better to give them their own. See what happens when I do that. No. Oh. I know why. See if they pass now. They both passed that. Well, actually, it only passed the one. Straight average passed that time, though. They both pass now. I had to call the add some classes in both cases, which is weird.
I got these, of course, the add and the GPA, it doesn't
Right, because when I moved it into the method,
right here.
yeah, because we needed it down here.
So we were.
So what I did is I moved it back up. I left the add some classes in both,
Okay.
but I moved it back up to the top.
Where did you, above the test method, right?
Right. Anyway, other than messing around, does it make sense how to do these? It's not real hard. You basically just click on the solution, add a test project, make a reference. There actually is a little bit of a blog on this in there too. Make a reference to the project you want to test, and then create unit tests for the methods that you want to test. Now, it would be nice with the GPA one, or not the GPA, with the fraction class, if you just did a couple of unit tests, just to try it. And again, this is useful stuff because it's actually, if you go out programming, they will expect you to know how to do unit tests. In other languages, you can get packages for Java to do unit tests. You could certainly just write your own too. You could write your own, just create a new project, make a reference to the other project, and test the methods. But the unit tests here, it has a nice thing that it gives you these things, the elapsed time, particularly if it fails. It gives you more information about the failure too. Doesn't give you a ton of information if it succeeds. Now, theoretically, there's a video on this too, but I will, if it succeeds, I will post it for you. Questions, though? Is there anything more you want me to go over with that? I can help you when you get.
We call those. Any other place but here? Doesn't exist.
So up and above where I had the average, I did do double average equals GPA straight average. If you did any coding on your project, you could test your project too. Despite what it says in the test and the coding part, I'm not going to hold you to coding for your project, but I think it'd be more fun if you can code a piece of it. And I think I will let you work now unless you guys have more questions. I will post this. And it's also, as I said, I think I have a, yeah, don't you like that infinite regress?
It'd be cool if it really did keep going.
Yeah. Anyway,